What's up, family? This is your boy Gerald. It's Thursday, the 9th of May, 2017. How is everybody doing? It is overcast skies in Virginia Beach. The weatherman has already said it's going to be raining for the next 3 days. And I know that for some people, they don't like when it seems to be gloomy. It tends to spark an emotional internal trigger. You see it sometimes at work. You see that sometimes when you're out and about. You see the disposition of those you come in passing, those you have to do business with, and those that you just make slight eye contact. It is about your environment. But we're going to talk about you. So you may have seen the title that I put out, and I wanted to ask this question for somebody because it's very important that each one teach one. We connect, we speak our truth, we grind our feet, we continue to grow. We do not allow ourselves to be stagnant. Why? Because you got a reason. There's a reason to everything. You even hear the opportunists say, there's a method in my madness, when there should be joy and not sadness. But when you turn around and you ask these same people this very question that I'm about to ask you, you stop them dead in their tracks. And it's really easy to do because of the fact that we are so inundated in what our day-to-day is all about. But let me ask you this. When you start your day and you end your day, how do you feel? What do you gain out of that whole transition of time to process when you close your door, when you lay your head down, when you finally are able to reconnect to who started the journey to begin with? You ever give it any thought about that? Or is it that your choices or your life is leading you instead of you living and leading your life? Who am I talking to? So here's the question. And there's a reason why I'm going to ask you this. Because this is going to require you not to have or seek permission for others, not to look for validation from your environment. This is for you. And when you're able to answer this question, let me tell you the power in this. Your life is going to change because you will see clarity, but you'll get validation that what has brought you to this point. So you ready? The question I want to ask you is this. And when you're able to answer this, which may take some time to ponder, you may already be able to let it fall from your precious mind and mouth. But you'll know. The question I'm going to ask you is this. What is your purpose. Did you hear what I just asked? I'll do it again. What is your purpose? Because until you're able to be truthful with yourself, can you be truthful with the effects? But what will be clear is the reaction and choices made. It is nothing but I like to call it like spiritual dominoes. For some, that terrifies. For others, it is to the point that they are frozen. You see it all the time. You see that person that has that nomadic mindset or that nomadic personality. 1 minute they're there, 1 minute they're over there, 1 minute they're over here, but they're never standing still. You know why they're not standing still, family? It's because they're terrified. They're terrified of the truth, and they're terrified of failure. So they look at time. They look at what's invested, and they try to be strategic. They try to master time. But as you already know, you cannot master what is not yours. You can honor it by seeing the value of what it represents. And it should be nothing but a definition or illustration to you. Don't believe me? I remember one time R&B artist, actor Tyrese Gibson had a song out called Letter to My Fans. If you've never heard the song, just go right up on your search engine, right up here. And yeah, it's called Letter to My Fans, and then in parentheses, walk. You can actually pull it up. You put Tyrese and then walk. Listen to this song. It's actually more spoken word than anything because it's conversational in tempo. But listen to the context of what he is conveying in that song. I personally believe that song should have been a #1 hit for him, but it never got airplay. It never got a video, not to my knowledge. It may have one now. But the words in itself is transcending. And when you look at your life, shouldn't that also be the same? I would always tell people in prior videos that I had done, especially when I was seriously immersed in my spirituality. You hear a lot of new agers talking about meditation. You hear a lot of people, using examples of exploration through using herbs and, but I've also come to understand, which is something I personally can't speak on because I've never, the strongest thing I've ever done, as you already know, was nicotine and Yes, alcohol. I'm not to make an excuse. I'm a veteran. That cigarettes and alcohol go hand in hand, but that's no excuse. But the one thing I've been very blessed to come to know in my development, because as long as you are breathing, that's an opportunity to learn something new, even if that means just being still. You realize how much information you take in just if you just be still and just look, be observant. If you really want to see something very funny, for those that are out there going, you ain't nothing wrong with a party every now and then, but you want to see something very funny, next time that you go to the club or the bar or the lounge of your choice, before you start to indulge in your beverage of choice, give yourself about 1 hour, just one. And when you go there, take note of what you see. For some, may be disturbing. For others, may be crystal clear, because you will actually see and come to understand how powerful sound and sight has an impact on your nervous system and your mind. But you know what I found so amazing? As I can really truly invested in my growth, especially in this era of the importance of being a man, but being a spiritual one, the rarity of it, the sacrifice made to stay the course, but the blessings, they always came from result. And the one thing that I took note through my travels, I've been very blessed. I've been all over the world, and I realized that every opportunity that was given, it was given by way of manifestation. This applies to everyone all over the planet. That's why when you hear me echo this sentiment about your elders saying, be careful what you ask for. They may say, be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. How powerful that is, because that is manifestation. But what they don't tell you is the spiritual connection connected to the word. And what did God do? He created this beautiful planet that we are unfortunately beaten up. How? In the beginning, it was the what? The word. So, what is a word? And is an expression done by what? Vibration. What is a vibration? It is a rhythm, pitch, frequency, tone. The greatest example of that is you. Why? Because without your permission, your blood still circulates. Without your thought, your lungs still fill up with air to expel what? Carbon dioxide. Without your thought, your organs that are required to sustain what is perfect, known as you, still behind the scenes function without any qualm. Why? Because in the bigger scheme of things, it is to facilitate your purpose. Now, let me break this down so some of y'all, because I know I'm going to lose some of y'all. Because right now, some of y'all may be in a place in your life where you feel that it is a plateau. Or you may be in the valley. You know, the Lord's Prayer. You're in that valley, so things are coming at you. Things are happening. And it's forcing you to either turn away or look at it head on. But either way, it is causing you to do this. First of all, you do understand, because I know the devil's a liar. And I understand that when it comes to spirituality, for some of your position is, I don't got time for this, bruh. I don't want to hear about that. And it may strike a chord inside you that may bring temperament. I used to be like that. I used to be like that too. Anytime I would hear religious music, I would get angry. And I didn't understand why. And I remember one time, because my mom would make my sister and I attend church every Sunday when we were young. And, you know, it was fun because it got us out of the house. And some of the Sunday school teachers would bring little treats and stuff. But I still felt a disconnect because when we would have major service, you would see people catch the Holy Ghost, and at first it would frighten me because I'm like, well, why is that lady over there shaking? Why is that man moaning and groaning? He doesn't have control. Does he got to go to the bathroom? Why is he doing that? Why is that young woman dancing and that person up and down and just acting out? I could not relate to that. And I actually, when I was younger, thought that I was going to hell. I did, because I'm seeing all this going on around me, and I'm like, why can't I understand? I don't understand. And it frustrated me. But little did I know that God had something for me to learn. Decades come, decades go. Faces changed. The landmarks disappeared. And I would go from one ocean to the next, from one continent to the next. I would go all over our beloved United States. through my growth. And I enjoyed that. I always enjoyed proverbially seeing what was on the other side of the hill. I was always that little boy that was always had a love affair about TV. And I would, in my mind, dream of what would it be like to see what that cameraman sees. What would it be like to live there or experience that? One of the things that I truly enjoyed growing up was I would um, read National Geographic, and I fell in love with the photography. Like, this is something a lot of people don't know. I've always had a love affair for photography and the beauty of the camera, even to the point that as I was in my adolescence, I was intrigued with anatomy to the point, just people, beautiful people. Even went through the phase of Playboy magazines. Oh yeah, boy, Gerald had a catalog. Oh yeah, and the crazy things I would do, even would take it from the corner store. But I didn't understand. Yeah, the golden rules were there, but there was still an underlining passion when it came to people. As I matured and I grew and I aged, I would start to embrace different friendships and relationships and different dynamics from a family level to a friend level to a more intimate level of companionship as I matured. But the one thing that I always realized, even as a service member, that's right, I served in the United States Air Force proudly. I found myself in places where were so magnificent, so beautiful. But the commonality was this: I was always by myself. I never had the opportunity to share that with that person of significance. Some of y'all might know that. For those who are connected to military members, this is something that they may not never tell you, but this is something that they also, all service members deal with. That's why it's very important that if you have someone that serves, you make sure you tell them you love them. The one thing that most servicemen hate is the fact that when they travel and they find themselves in a place of, I don't want to say alone, but family is very important. Don't believe me? The next time you go to an airport to pick up your loved one, you see a serviceman, male, female, just thank them. Because there's a lot of service members that are serving our country proudly, without hesitation, without any reservation. But when they come off that plane, the reality hits them like a ton of bricks when they come through and there's no one there. That's why you have a lot of members that unfortunately suffer from alcoholism, drug abuse, or may have underlining triggers, fetishes to some degree, because they all want this, regardless of service member to Joe Blow that has a 9 to 5. Everybody deserves and desires to be loved. I'm like, well, what's that got to do with everything, Gerald? There's a reason. Do you realize how many people every day get up, go to their job, do it 100%, come home, and are miserable? They're miserable. And the underlying reason is the same for this. You realize how many college students are pursuing their degrees, embracing that student debt, and excelling to be the best they can in their desired field, but silently hate it? Some of y'all know that. You probably know somebody that's got about 3 degrees. You're like, well, you got a degree in technology and degree in business and a degree in humanities, but you're miserable. You're making all this money, but you're miserable. Why are you so miserable? You make 6 figures. Why are you acting out? Because it all comes full circle. Because of this one question. These people do not know their purpose. So you're going through life on autopilot because socially, that is what you are taught to do. You realize how many people or how different your society, our world will be different? How about more authentic? How about more integrity if people actually pursued what they were passionate about? And what is passion? Passion is something you would do for free because there is love there. But there are people that unfortunately are reared in a mindset that, well, I don't want to be a failure. I've got my family and I've got my friends relying that I am the best that I can be. And these people are destroying their lives. Here's another perspective. That is also the reason why you have so many people who do not wish to be exposed and are terrified and cannot answer that question, because they also know that they're walking around with mental illness. And that's a big problem, especially in the minority communities. Oh, yeah. Because there's such a stigma connected to talk about mental health. But when you look at it from a logical standpoint, it should be very clear. Where the mind goes, the body will flow. So if your mind's not right, your choices are not going to be right. If your choices are not right, it's going to affect you physically. So what do you think I always convey to you? Yeah, you. First of all, thank you for watching, because this is live. Why do you think I convey this all the time? Do you know who you are? Because if you knew who you were, you would also know what is required to protect it. You would also come to understand why, where you are right now, this moment, some of the friends that you had are not there. I know there might be some people right now dealing with this right here. You got a big old heart. You would give your last breath if required. You are the epitome of what love is defined. But no matter what you've done or tried to convey, it is never returned back. First of all, let me pump your brakes on this and let you know something. All those disappointments, all those setbacks, all those moments where you felt like you were by yourself, those were opportunities that were strategically done by him to prepare you for the intended time so that the real people, let me stop. The reason why you went through all the things that you did was so you can gain knowledge of what you need compared to what you wanted. Think about all the things that you had made concessions for, and you said, I want this. And to come to find out, it robbed you of your time. Think about all those choices you may have made because impulsively something may have caught your eye, you may have heard something, and you thought that that would give you a certain sense of boostment or upliftment of your self-esteem. You realize how many people are walking around with low self-esteem? You know, we used to have this term in the military about our dormitory. Dormitories were the active duty members that are assigned to that location. That's where they live. And we would always joke, if the walls could talk, lives would be changed. Because the truth of the matter is, if you were able to see how people were behind closed doors, 9 times out of 10, you wouldn't want to have anything to do with them. 9 times out of 10, you would see that the person that shares that hello doesn't have the true intentions for you. So that goes back to the question. Do you know your purpose? And I can spin it and say this. If you do know what your purpose is, why aren't you positioning yourself so that it can come to pass? Because that is what is the key that unlocks your dreams. Do you realize how many people that are given, first of all, you do understand that your life, the moment that you took your first breath, a spiritual seal was placed over your life for a specific purpose to be fulfilled in the intended time. So when I say that to you, right off the bat, you can just throw this out the way. That word fate, throw that out the window. Because a person that uses the word fate is basically trying to legitimize an effect without God's position. Who am I talking to? But see, I understand that there's a lot of passive aggressive energy being promoted through the decades, through the lineage And as we continue down the evolution of this planet, as spirit, you do understand you're a spiritual being first, right? And I know somebody said, no, that ain't the case, Gerald. You keep talking about spirit and God and angels and demons. That ain't right. I'll prove it right now. If you wasn't a spiritual being, you wouldn't feel your emotions. Well, if you were just a flesh, why would it matter what someone had done if it directly has no connection to you physically? You know, that personal space. But why is it? It is the things that have no physical form have the most weight. Let me break it down again. Because see, this is only a means of it is nothing but a vehicle to be able to move around on this third dimensional realm. But there is a fifth dimension. There is a spiritual veil and demons. How about them succubus and incubus? You know those. You've heard those, right? I'm not talking about the group. Where you think they got that name from? Because an incubus and succubus are the same, just genders are different. They're demons. And their sole purpose is to excrete your sexual energy. You know how you have a lot of these new agers want to talk about the Kundalini? What do you think the Kundalini is? It's your essence. Where's your essence connected to? Your spirit. So that right there should let you know. Because see, you could be the most beautiful person in the world. You can have all the money that you could ever imagine. But you can't buy a personality. Can't buy you. I'll do one better. I can give you your dream car. And look good, shiny and everything. Give you the keys. But if that engine block ain't in it, guess what? It ain't going nowhere. So we want to talk about chakras. I know somebody's ears are perking up. How are you going to be able to talk about chakras and sacred geometry if you can't acknowledge the Holy Trinity? But let me tell you how these New Agers do it too. They won't talk about it because then, once again, you have to acknowledge that God exists. And if God exists, then you have to also acknowledge that Lucifer is real. Because guess what? After God got tired, even though he broke it down, said it was 7 days, create the universe. What do you think he decided to do? He wanted someone to have dominion for him, to oversee it. And a lot of people say, well, that was what Adam and Eve was all about, Gerald. Yeah, but this is what the theologians won't tell you. Once the earth was cultivated and Adam and Eve was created from clay, that's why when you pass, you go, but what? You go back to the earth because you're part of it. But he had to have overseers over this dominion. That's why angels were created. But guess who was the first? Lucifer. He was made perfect. If he wasn't made perfect, why did he manifest into the serpent to tempt Eve. Pride, envy. And where pride is, envy lives. And where envy is, there's always a desperate act for what? Control. So what is going on, family? There is a strategic, I want to say more or less cerebral war on your mind. That's why there's so much inundated advertisement to the point now that they want to measure, monitor, and sell your algorithms. For some who don't know what algorithms are, algorithms is basically your patterns of what you do here. You know your history? Well, you know, advertisers like to know that because then they make money off of your information so that people that may have goods and services then could possibly have a new customer. That's why you see all these ads on the right side of your screen. That's why them spam busters are becoming more sophisticated. Some of y'all remember the days of the pop-ups and you're like, why is this commercial? Because they want, it's not the fact that they want your time, they want what you possess. And it is your perception. Because as long as they have your perception, it's a matter of time before that becomes a pattern. And as that pattern progresses, it becomes an habit, better known as a behavior. End goal is the action. Some of y'all see it. Some of y'all don't want to admit it. And some of y'all are going through this right here. Hold that thought. Because when I drop this on you, you got no choice but to look that person back in the mirror and say, yep, you're right. All right, thank you, family. Let me put this in a different perspective for some of y'all may understand. Thank you for your patience. I had to use the bathroom. Can't do that, right? I can at least go once, right? Thank you. If your perceptions were not important, why would advertisers exist? Put it this way, because we only use 6% of our brain. So imagine a field, a farmer's field, right? And I come along and I have an idea and I plant that seed in that field, which is your mentality, your perceptions. I don't have to worry about when it sprouts. All I have to do is observe and wait for the harvest. Who am I talking to? Some of y'all are catching it. Your perceptions are what sets up the cultivation of what becomes your manifestation. I'll do one better. How many times y'all turned around and watched the like First 48 or a drama show or something, you know, one of these TV shows, and they're doing the interview part, and then you don't see you see the person, all right, you got the victim, right? And you may even have the weapon, but you don't have the clear-cut evidence of why well, we already know the end goal was a person, this person was a victim, and their life was taken because of this means. And then when they go to, you spend the whole show trying to figure out how things took place. And then as they start to go through the interview process, and that person tries to outthink them, because they all do. And then you find out it's something very small, a conversation, a disagreement on something. It was something that festered. And so, well, why? Okay, so you telling me this took, we'll just say hypothetically. So you telling me you had a run-in with Bob and he said something you didn't deal with, but yet you, instead of dealing with it, resolving it, you went on and in the back of your mind, subconsciously, it grew into anger, disdain, eventually evolved into action. Same thing, you flip it. You have somebody says, well, I got an idea. Don't know how I'm going to make this idea come to pass, but I'm just going to start with this, we'll say a little sketch pad, and the person starts to put a little line here, write a little something, and eventually it starts to form. Eventually it is physically tangible. So how did something that was mentally or really spiritually transcend from spirit to physical action? That's where your angels come into play. Also, that's where demons like to play. That is also how your purpose is made. Who am I talking to? How many of y'all know what I'm talking about? Think about where you are now compared to that setback you were in. You thought that life as you knew this was an end all be all. You were past frustration. And just like the rain, it washed away, like boom, gone. What? Page turned. You know that was God, right? That was one of his angels stepping in on his behalf to guide you. Some of y'all might know it as this. And life was great. Everything was good. You were, as you thought, happy. Then life got real. Then it got dark. And you were exposed to emotions that you never thought you would. You even saw similarities to what you're seeing in TV. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You can't even watch certain shows or listen to certain content because it brings you back down memory lane. Advertisers know that. And that's why you hear people say, no, art imitates life. But in actuality, life is nothing but the manifestation of spirit. So, with that being said, what's your purpose? Do you realize there are people, unfortunately, that will not give themselves permission to figure that out? They are actually on their deathbed saying, well, you know, I wish I could have. That's when them dark secrets come out. And that was nothing but pride. You realize that's why the imagery of family is such fragmented and tattered. What is going on now was not even entertained 20 years ago. It was unfathomable. But as we progress through the social dynamic, a lot of times people surrender to public opinion, which the only opinion that really matters is the person that looks in the mirror in the morning to wake you up to another day. Who am I talking to? You realize how many people are faced with the reality of what their ideologies were compared to what their reality is, and they're walking around like their head is in a fishbowl because it doesn't add up. You hear people say, well, I wasn't raised that way. Nobody can love you more than you. Not even your parents. Not even your children. If you're a parent. Not even your spouse if you have a significant other. No one can love you more than you. But it will not click or sink in until you finally admit that you have to have that conversation with him. That is going to be the piece that's going to make things validate. That is going to be the piece that is also going to reveal the real you. And be prepared, because here's the powerful part. That is also the moment for some that will hear their voice for the very first time. I know somebody saying, what do you mean hear your voice for the very first time, Gerald? I hear my voice every time I talk. I'm talking the real you, not the restricted you. That means expressing yourself without restriction. That doesn't mean you have to be an ass. It doesn't mean that the only way that you can be acknowledged is for you to disrespect yourself. Because see, those people, even though right now they want to convince you more than ever that life is grand, are going to be the same people that you will see systematically through your life. They're going just as much energy that it takes for you to do it is going to be the same energy that you're going to need to get through it. So it's very important that you speak your truth. You realize there are people that are still to this day walking around with emotional wounds from their childhood. I'm not I'm not downplaying that because see the flesh heals, but your emotions requires time. I'll do one better. You see the scenario all the time. You see that okay, I can only use this as a term because I can't think of another way of explaining it. You ever heard of the term battered spouse syndrome? Right? And they always do the story of the battered spouse, male or female. And you always hear this person was loyal, this person was focused, this person was, they put them, the people connected to them before them. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, you hear about this heinous crime. You hear about overkill. Well, why is she was married to this guy for 30 years and then she stabbed him 195 times? Why? I'm a firm believer that people are like onions. The more older you become or more seasoned you become, there are more layers that can come off. The question is, are you waiting? Are you willing to take note? Because it can be a beautiful thing too, to actually watch this person reveal themselves. That's why your elders may have told you you can't be friends with everybody. Not everybody is going to have your best interests. But what I come to understand was this. You know why you can't be friends with everybody? Because not everybody knows their purpose. So if they don't know their purpose, they can't protect it. But they can always find an agenda when it comes to you. Who am I talking to? And that's what opportunists do. Now, let's not misconstrue that with opportunity. Opportunities are endless if it's blessed. If it's divinely meant for you to be, don't worry about missing that boat. Or missing that boat or that bus, proverbially. Don't worry about it. Because that may have been a false trigger for you to just grab the first thing that came along. Because see, that's what the devil does. The devil will give you what you want, never what you need. And when you look at dynamics when it comes to relationships, which you already know that your greatest lesson that you'll ever learn is mastering you. That's why you have to love yourself. You can't turn around and say, well, I don't have any friends because I don't trust them. You're really telling that person that you just said you don't trust yourself. You don't have any faith in your decision making. So really, you're really putting yourself in harm's way because you don't have boundaries. But if you let the naysayers tell you, they want to convince you that, no, I can do whatever I want. I'm independent. I don't need a man. I don't need nobody. You hear all of these examples, right? We hear them all the time. Just one problem. God ain't in that. So if God's not in that, who's telling you that? Ain't God, then who is it? You do understand demons have to work overtime, right? Demons can't afford that you have the life of your dreams and you are happy. And if you decided to be fruitful and multiply, which was what God asked you to do, that demons can't afford that. Demons have to wait and catch you slipping. Demons got to put that doubt and fear in your heart. Demons got to set you up so you can trip, slip, and bust your lip, hoping that you don't have the fortitude and courage to get up. No, you don't deserve to love yourself. Nobody will love you. Nobody wants, who wants to marry you because you're not falling into the trap like all the other ones? No, they don't. No. Maybe you are the exception to the rule, baby girl. And let me throw this out there for somebody. Because, see, society won't tell you, but they love feeding on your impulsiveness. And what do? They target women. You know why they target women? Because they know women are fragile, just like them flowers. And they also know that women are also very ingenious. So she ain't got to spend her money. She going to get Charlie's. But what they don't care about and don't worry about it because it's revenue, is they ain't going to worry about what she had to do to get it. Do you realize anything that you possess has no value until you possess it? Who am I talking to? Because that's what separates what you need compared to a want. It only has value until you decide to desire it. So do you see why advertisement plays such a role? How about product placement? How many times have you seen something in a movie or you heard someone say something and you say, hey, wait a minute. Because the end goal is to get you to spend your money, not invest it. And queens, you do understand that real men, this ain't shade, fellas, this is real. Real men don't wear their wealth. They invest it. No different than the farmer in the field. The farmer in the field doesn't see his harvest, but he goes out there religiously to plant seeds. He toils the soil, sun up, sun down, whatever the requirement is, he is there. With no guarantee in sight that his harvest will come, but he still doesn't. The reason why the farmer does it is no different than why you should do the same. It's because he knows the value of his worth. Even though tangibly that is through logistics, we're talking spiritually. How about your emotions? Not everybody's supposed to know your story, King. So why are you telling everybody? Do you understand that the devil is even more strategic because he will bring, I'll do one better. Let me stop right here. This is for you, king and queen. See if you can relate to this. Think about that moment. You may have been in a place of influx, might have been have a little emotion going on, whatever. And you said, I wish I had that. You might not have let the words fall from your mouth, but it crossed your mind. You may have seen somebody that was in a relationship, or you may have saw this beautiful, attractive woman, or or handsome man, and you talk to him or whatever, and they had revealed to you that there was some not so good moments going on, or you may have seen someone that you have allegiance with and saw their behavior towards that person, and in your mind you said, if that was me, I would never treat you that way. And then what happens? A little time passes, and then bam, that person walks right in your life. And if it's not that person, it's someone that is similar to the aesthetics or status of what came out your mouth. That wasn't God. That was the devil. And see, right now, people don't even realize that a lot of what's going on in the world right now is done by one of the devil's main demons, the Jezebel spirit. And how's that, Gerald? Simple. Jezebel's spirit's number one prowess was she wanted power. She wanted to be worshipped. So what did she do? See, the Jezebel was very beautiful. She was stunning. She was that girl. Even the elders who looked upon her saw how unique her beauty was. But what they did not realize was that was nothing but a ruse. So that was nothing but show. And she would use her beauty, which was her strength, to go up the ladder of public opinion, of public status. No different than what you see in all these little girls with all this makeup on. Don't you realize? Look here. Ringling Brothers and Barney Bailey Circus don't need clowns, queen. Why are you putting on so much makeup? Don't you realize your most beautiful face is when you ain't got nothing on it? Why? Because that's you. They can see you, even when you got that bad breath and crust in your eyes. That's you. But if you look at TV today, you look at social media today, why do y'all all look the same? Why does it look like somebody took two of your ribs? You do know that is contortion, right? In the medieval times in Japan, they practiced this art called binding, and they use silk to bind the feet and even the hands to make them smaller. Because the cats that had money were old, and they, even though they don't really say it, but historically when you look at it, a lot of those cats, they were into little girls. They wanted little girls. So we can actually say that was some pedophilia stuff going on. What the philosophy was, well, if I keep her young and dumb and butt naked, running around the house, she can't get in but so much trouble. That's why they stay pregnant. And if you look through time, no matter where you went around the world, you saw that same thing. Old cat with the young girl, and she's swollen around her colon. But you know what happens? Even though she's swollen around her colon, what else is swollen is her heart. Her story is not being told. It's not being defined. She may have a brood of children, but she got more scars than that. And that is why even with the story of Jezebel. As she escalated through the status, she would also find Ahab. And he would be smitten. And he would say, the world is yours, pretty much. And gave her anything she wanted. That's why you hear people say, don't be like Ahab, because Ahab was docile. Ahab was henpecked. He was not a man. Ahab he did have a backbone. Well, the truth of the matter is, I've never seen this, but I'm a firm believer from the people, the women I've heard, every woman wants a man. Even though you got a lot of women out here that are gravitating and they preying on these little boys because they got a little bit of money, and guess what happened? These little boys do the same thing. They get it, lose it as quick as they get it. And right now, the status quo is shake his pockets. Ain't that what prostitutes do? I'm gonna have me a child. That's the PIN number. As long as I've got little Jerome, I'll make sure I have a new home. And you see this play out through the economic levels, even in the projects. You see him out there, got $500 worth of hair, kids looking all destitute. This ain't shade, this is life. But that shouldn't be a life that's worth living when you deserve better. But what happened to Jezebel? Same thing that's going on in society today. Because what would end up happening is Jezebel will curse herself because she denounced God. And Jezebel will fall to her death, and she would be dismembered by wild dogs. She had a very painful death. Because see, at the end of the day, if you don't serve God's purpose, you cease to exist. It's no different than someone committing suicide, which is the ultimate abomination. Because you're basically saying God made a mistake by giving you the breath of life. You're not a mistake. This is for somebody. They've been in your ear all this time talking about why you ain't this, why you can't do that, why you don't look this way, and why they ain't doing that. Guess what? The person that's intended is being made for you. Because they're praying for you by praying for themselves. They're putting the work in, and they're being made new. And they already know what the value is when they find you. Because see, they're not going to find you by sight, queen, king. Listen, your wife is not going to find you by sight. She's going to know you by spirit. So once again, if you don't know your purpose, guess what? You're not going to know your direction. And if you don't know your direction, the people that are in it will not be able to protect it. Did you hear me? So you do have a right to be pissed. That's why your little girlfriend don't want you to better yourself. Your little stick man, he wants you to sit on that couch just like him. Gain about 30, 40 pounds. And have you noticed when you gain weight, excuse me, your attitude sucks. Things stop working. You know why that is? That's a reminder for you to get back to where you once were. Or better yet, get from who you with. Somebody looking like, you talking about you. All people can change when you stop running from yourself. What's keeping you from being happy? I'll tell you why. Your pride. You're going to blame everybody for your downfall except for the person that impacts most. How about the person that feels it the most? Do you not see the correlation in that? And truth be told, they don't give a damn about you like that when they need to be focusing on them. But yet, your little girlfriends were like, who she thinks she is? She don't hang out with us no more. She thinks she better than us. No, maybe she wants a better life. Because anybody can breed. But then you're going to blame that on, well, you know, I wasn't like that, but now I got these 6 kids, girl, and they robbing me of my life. No, you choose for that to be your reality. Because even if you got 6 kids, don't have no kids, your reality is still yours. That means you might have to work a little more. I tell this all the time. Cats that you didn't been locked up. You got a felony. They're not trying to hear what you got to say because you got that charge. But let's make it clear. Was you really listening and thinking about what people would think when you earned that charge? Own it. Own it. So don't be mad. Make that your motivation. Because when you decide to make that your motivation, God will see it. He will make a way when there is no way. Because I've seen it play out. I know a person that had 2 strikes. He worked for FedEx right now. There's a lot of companies out there that are giving second chance opportunities. But if you're going in there with a hustler's mindset and say, I'm only going to give this, but I expect to get that, your stay will be short-lived. Because as long as you stay with the mindset that you had that got you in trouble, you're not going to progress because you ain't learned the lesson. So you're going to return. Now, I done ran my mouth long enough because at the end of the day, you got to make a choice on what's important to you. You can be like so many people running around. And you do know, family, because it's unfortunate, this is going to get a little bit more difficult before it gets better. You're going to watch the social dynamic get to a point that unless you're a card-carrying member, they're going to make it hard for you. That's all right. Just remember, this has been going on. Remember the children of Israel? They went through hell. How about the Trail of Tears here in the United States? They went through hell. How about every time you hear about stories of people, refugees going from here and there? It happens all over the world. And it's etched in time. That's why history repeats itself. The faces change, but the example is still there if you're willing to see it. You know why? Because God, once again, is trying to get you to see. Did you get the lesson yet? Did you get the message? No? Okay, well, Jay, you do. Keep revolving around that mindset. And what'll happen is your time will be robbed from you. Don't worry about them opportunities because they will disappear. You realize there's some. Why are you holding a grudge with somebody that ain't even in your life? This is for somebody. You holding a grudge with somebody that ain't even have access to your life right now. You ain't seen them in years. But it was just like yesterday. Let me tell you something, newsflash. They don't give a damn about you, because if they did, they would be relevant today. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but you are putting focus on someone who's not thinking about you. They're not thinking about you. But I will tell you this, though. If you want a sneak peek, because God is the ultimate comedian, too. Because that's why karma is the way it is. But karma is nothing but divine intervention, only played out in the intended time and moment. Just depends on when you're really ready to stop playing. But you want to see of the impact that you have on somebody, you ain't got to go snoop. Because connections are made and inbred, are ingrained in spirit. That's why you hear about soul ties. Everybody want to talk about soulmates and twin flames. Root word is spirit. You can't go around that. But they try. But right now, it's all about you got people trying to legitimize themselves. And I know this is wrong, because right now in the back of my head, I'm thinking about Cat Williams. And when he on Friday, he said, "I'm a boy, Damon. I'm a boy." Well, let me tell you something. God made no mistake in creating the beautiful person you are. So why are you faking the funk? I can't be you and you can't be me. This is what you got. And Queen, I warned y'all 5 years ago, you were made perfect. So why you nipping and tucking and pulling and stretching? You don't have to do all that. You look around, what's going on? They're looking like goblins, ain't they? Growing up to be little old Jewish ladies, playing with your melanin. Your melanin was given as it should. You know, they got people taking pills, taking shots, darken their. Listen, I'm going to tell you this for the last time. There is no such thing as a white person. Nobody on this planet is this complexion. Nobody is on this earth this complexion. There's only 5 shades of brown on this planet. And if you just take the bias out, you'll see it. It's played out before you. You look at people on your boob tube. You look at them. You can see some people like, damn, that person biracial? Why is that person's skin turned? Like, I get it all the time. I had to deal with this all my whole life. I had people ask me, what are you? Because they can't figure it out. When it's cold, I'm very fair skinned. People talking to me in Spanish and stuff. But when it gets warm, I'm like a French fry. I get brown. And it be freaking them out. Especially the rednecks. It's funny as I don't know what. Because I was driving I'm a window down, my arm out. Like you can see, look at that. You can see where my watch is. See? That's that's the beauty of your skin. But if I was to take my pants down and show you my bare, you'd be like, whoa, give him some. I'm just playing. But that's the beauty of your skin, your anatomy, your genes. How about them cells? Without them cells, you wouldn't have atoms. You don't realize how beautiful and perfect you are, but complex. That's why okay, I'm gonna shut up. Queen, you want to get yourself, you want to get your pep, you want to get your step back? Because some of y'all are thinking, oh, my best days are all gone. What am I gonna do? Get your ass up from the table and take your ass to the gym. Change your eating habits up, start taking your vitamins and drinking water. Cut your sugars down, cut them down, almost out. Start walking. But more importantly, add vigor to your life. Anybody can do calisthenics at the house. Hell, look at the convicts. They come out big as I don't know what. They work out. You have to do that because that's what keeps you alive. But take note, for the damage you put on your body, is the same energy that it took to do it is going to be the same energy needed to get you through it, to heal. You can't just take a synthetic pill and think, oh, because what happens? You get that monotone voice on your TV. Did you suffer from this? Do you have ashy elbows and dry eyelids? Then you may have a civil action case. Everything you need comes from the earth. Everything. And if you don't do your purpose, which if you do or not, you're going to end up in the earth too. So, I highly recommend. You may be at a crossroad in your life. And you may feel that your back is to the wall. You may feel that nobody has your best interest. Nobody has your best interest because you don't have interest for yourself. That does not give you a right to be a big asshole and disrespect yourself, especially y'all, my queens. I'm going to tell you something. No man, none, will deal with a disrespectful woman. They'll screw your brains out, but they'll never marry you. So if you want to play your position like that and have Mr. Charlie just slide by and drop you a couple pennies and roll on out, the choice is yours. But just know this, even though it's easy for Mr. Charlie to come and do his little, and you might think it's cool because like, well, because a lot of women got about 5 dudes sniffing under their skirt and they play their little positions. First of all, you aging your body as well as putting a lot of wear and tear on your vagina, which, hello, you do know 35% of the women walking on this planet, well, I can't say on the planet, but definitely in Europe and definitely in the United States, suffer from fibroids. And you do know that every time you sleep with somebody, their DNA is woven into yours. That don't go away. And you do know, especially millennials, you guys are coming up with a high rate of sterility now. Get sterile. That means you can't, even if you say I was wilding up, one day you might want to be a mother. That's being stripped. And then on the other side, you have some women that's all they know, having to do what? Hysterectomies. I don't wish that on nobody. But as long as you have that mindset of, well, look what the guys do. They liars, but they lying on top of you. So two wrongs don't make a right. You might think it's cool because you got over on him. But what you don't realize is, in the back of his mind, he may be like, well, that's all that cost me. And we're living in the internet age for the last 20 years. And y'all thinking that, oh, those secret rendezvous and I'm going, your business is being put out there on the airwaves like it ain't nothing more than ever. Oh yeah, there's plenty of little daughters, aunties, and moms and grandmas. Your business is on the internet. And guess what? Because the moment that you decided not to play your position that you originally signed up for, because you did, they use that to smear your life. But that ain't your life, because everybody makes mistakes. Everybody makes choices. You pick your face up. You ground your feet. Because a setback doesn't define your life. It doesn't. Unless you allow it to. God's praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. Why do you think you got so many people walking around depressed and don't even have the courage to admit that they're suffering from mental health issues? You wouldn't have sociopaths and schizophrenics or people suffering from bipolar. All those are progressives. Those are all stair step. You know what else is right there they don't want to say? How about your little boy, your little baby suffering from ADHD? You know why your child got ADHD? Because you ain't giving your child the attention that it needs. How about go to the park and take that controller from him? You might be saving his life. Be blessed.